That was Erykah Badu, On and On. So I have been watching the Republican National Convention. I've watched it with incredulity. I watch a black politician, even a black influencer, Amber Rose, who said that she did her research when her white father told her that Donald Trump wasn't racist. I wonder, did she look at his many suits that involve racial discrimination with the Department of Justice, or him using Barack Obama's race as a entree into the his presidential campaign, saying that he wasn't American, or his blood of immigrants, or any number of statements. But I watched black politician after black politician, and they were paraded before the national audience, and what their goal is to, and they all said it was Byron Donald, it was Mark Robinson, the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, it was Dr. Ben Carson, of course, it was Tim Scott, none of which, of course, were considered seriously for the vice presidential position, but they would always, it was the same retort that America is not racist. They crowed that you can make it if you try, that America's all about a meritocracy. Interesting that we heard people previously talking about DEI in connection with the assassination attempt on the president. So I imagine those women and black people on the Secret Service, they didn't have the meritocracy that they're now extolling the virtues of. Those black men have a purpose, and that purpose is to deflect. That purpose is to give cover to what they're literally trying to do. If you remember the last two election cycles, there was a great deal of money spent on releasing misinformation, specifically aimed at black people. So we know that already. Project 2025, I guess, is something that they don't want people to talk about. I would say this: don't listen to me. Look at what has happened and read the Project 2025. Don't listen to me. Listen to what is J.D. Vance's qualification to be a presidential candidate. He's a 39-year-old unremarkable white man who wrote a book, who's a one-term senator. The thing that he is an accolade, an accolade for 2025. So if something happens to Trump, let me tell you something, 70-year-old men who eat cheeseburgers all the time don't tend to live a long time. So if he were to get elected, something happened to him, this man, who is the poster child for 2025, will be the president. But those black men, and they know it too, the Byron Donalds and the Tim Scotts and the Eric Johnson, the mayor of Dallas, they know what the truth is. But those people, they reminded me of a young lady. Her name was Eunice Rivers Laurie. Now, she was a black lady, an accomplished woman. She was a nurse who lived in Tuskegee, Alabama. She was, by all accounts, a wonderful wife. And she was one of the very first black people hired at the United States Public Health Service. She was a pioneer. By all accounts, she was a faithful churchgoer, but she was also complicit in one of the worst moral atrocities intentionally committed against black people in the last 100 years. See, Eunice Rivers Laurie was the nurse and the main player for the infamous Tuskegee Syphilis Study. So for 40 years, Eunice Rivers Laurie, she tricked 300 black men by not revealing to them that they were infected with the disease. She, a black woman with a black face, a black family, a churchgoer, a black man, a black daughter, intentionally recruited and retained those black men in a study, fully knowing that they were withholding the truth and treatment for them. She aided and abetted crimes committed against those black men. Over 100 black men died as a result of that study. So if you ask me what James and Scott and Robinson and the others, why they remind me of her, because they too are complicit. They know the danger of Project 2025. They know what it is. And just like Eunice Rivers Laurie, they are complicit in what could be the downfall or detrimental thing for black people. And they have no problem doing it. I would say just because you have a black face doesn't mean that you want the best for black people. When you parrot the things they want you to say, then that doesn't mean you have the best for black people. Eunice Rivers Laurie was a nurse, somebody they would trust. They trusted her. They believed her, and that cost them their life. And they knew they needed someone who would do it. And the iteration of that marches out at the Republican National Convention and does what they do, knowing what is at stake. One of the refrains from the speakers last night is, "This is the most important presidential election of our lifetime." And for once, I finally agree with something those puppets said. That's a little note from the GED section. Got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.